Hello, I'm Karthik, and welcome to ESPN Cricket Info Stump Mike. I just wanted to say before we start that all of you listening to this podcast, especially if you're in India or you have friends and family in India, I hope you all are safe. I hope you all are taking care of yourselves. I know that it may be weird for a lot of y'all, and I've heard from a lot of people that watching cricket is not the easiest to do at this time. For some of y'all, the IPL is proving to be a distraction in the evenings from all that is happening around you. But the most important thing is please take care of yourselves, take care of your friends, take care of your families, and help each other in any way you can. And once again, I reiterate, please, if you're able to, stay at home as much as possible and wear a mask. Now let's get on with the show. With me today is Devan Sen. Devan, how are you doing?
Yeah, pretty good. On that note itself, there's a couple of people in the family who are affected by COVID, so just looking after them has been sort of hectic. But on a different note, yes, the IPL has been quite exciting this time. A few unexpected surprises, and one I'm sure which a lot of our readers know is that there's Hindi ball by ball commentary this time. So just for those who haven't checked it out, please do on our app as well as on the website. There's a little icon which gives you the language option, and you can enjoy some pretty funny and quite on point Hindi ball by ball commentary.
Yeah, for all of you who don't know, Devan is the one who's leading the charge in bringing Hindi ball by ball commentary to ESPN Cricket Info. It started at the start of the IPL. Devan, how has the response been?
Yeah, it's been pretty funny. Obviously, because it's a language that a lot of Indians do relate to, and there are many sort of cultural references, pop culture references, which can be brought into commentary. So it's given us that little freedom, which probably English wouldn't have because you have a much more global audience. And yes, I mean the language itself is such a rich one that there's plenty of scope for doing some interesting stuff. In fact, our second panelist today, he shot a video with one of the stars of this IPL thus far, and it was so much fun for the whole Hindi team. We are so happy that that was the first video that we produced entirely in Hindi.
And an outstanding video. It was shot by none other than Shashank Kishore. Welcome, Shanky.
Hey Karthik, hey Divine. Good to be on the show. And as we've spoken about time and again, grim times, tough times. But as you mentioned, I think it's important for all of us to ride this together and stay in it together and stay safe. And on that note, yes, it was great fun meeting Chetan Sakaria and his parents and his family in Bhavnagar. It was a quick trip. It was literally less than 48 hours. So flew in a day. Did a test, cleared the negative instant test, then went over to his hometown, met his family, met him, went over to the academy where he practiced. So it was basically tracing his journey from Vartage, and what an inspirational story it was, or it is rather.
Mm-hmm. Deban, this video, you can see it on our website as well. And of course, the Hindi team has social media channels of their own.
Yes, absolutely. Cricinfo Hindi is where we are at on Twitter, and ESPN Cricinfo Hindi on Facebook as well. So I would appreciate a follow back because, yeah, we are also using as much of humor and film references from time to time. So it's been a good fun journey.
Plenty of Shah Rukh Khan fans, I must say, on your team. Yeah, there were plenty of them. All right, so back to the cricket, where four games in for each team in IPL 2021. And lo and behold, Shanky, Royal Challengers Bangalore are on top. Now, Shashank, I remember that you did not get the opportunity to come on our RCB preview. So we didn't get a prediction from you. But hand on heart, would you have predicted RCB having a 100% record, topping the table and dominating teams the way they have done so far?
Absolutely not. I mean, it's a massive surprise. But having said that, I think they're one of the few sides who did really well at the auction in the sense they were clear about what they wanted. They wanted a big ticket signing to kind of take the pressure off Kohli and De Villiers, and they got that in Glenn Maxwell. And they've also been very, very prudent and very, very sharp in their off-season signing in Harshal Patel, who they've tracked for a bit now. And Harshal was also with RCB a few years ago, went over to the Delhi Capitals, didn't get too many opportunities, but in the interim, he's been really good in domestic cricket, both as a batsman and as a bowler. And we've seen him really deliver so far in the death overs for RCB. So those two signings have really proved to be crucial. And yes, it is a surprise to see them topping the table at this point in time. but the good work that they've done in the off season with regards to scouting and at the auction is finally showing. And RCB aren't known to be great at auctions. They've made a lot of mistakes over the years. They've been a butt of many jokes at the auction. Nearly became a butt of another joke this year with Chris Morris, the way where they went after him, especially after releasing him. But having said that, I think it's a great start for them, and they're really looking the early trendsetters. And I mean, I won't say that they're front runners now for a playoff spot, because 13 years of disappointment, those who've endured really know that this team is also probably capable of losing three or four in a bounce like they did towards the end of the previous season. But the signs are promising.
But what they've given themselves, Deban, is that little bit of a leeway, right? Like even if they go on a bad run, because they will be shifting cities. They've been playing at at the Wankhede the entire time, so who knows how other cities and other stadiums will treat them. But even if they go on a bad run, they've given themselves the best possible opportunity to not just finish in the playoffs, to possibly finish in the top two, which gives you an added advantage going into the playoffs.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, when we did, or rather, I actually composed that tweet, which was for preseason predictions on the Hindi handle. So, in response to that, my pick was RCB as champions, and the playoff spots for me were MI, RCB, DC, SRH.
Hmm.
And yeah, no individuals from them were either like, orange cap winner or purple cap winner. And so far, to an extent, that has come true. Probably MI's form in the early stages has been a little bit of a concern, but I'm not surprised personally. And you'll recall when we did the MI preview podcast, where both Anisha and I were of the opinion that perhaps this was the best possible chance for RCB to beat MI as well. So they've just fed off that confidence, and I think what I've liked personally, I think every point has been covered by Shashank about the two players who have made a key difference to the team. But what's been noticeable is how they are growing in confidence this time. But yes, again, what I think the RCB fans themselves realize is that this is a team which can also go on a negative turn. So it's important not to lose focus. What Virat has been speaking about, the fact that they need to take it game by game and not think too far ahead. But it's a genuinely good team, and I think it's a team which is capable of winning across a lot of conditions. And I think they ticked off a massive box with Devdutt Padikkal with the kind of innings that he played. So that's just going to give them a huge boost in terms of what they want to do this season.
Yeah, Devdutt Padikkal scored 101 not out versus Rajasthan Royals last night. We're recording the day after. And going to what you said, Tibayan, Virat Kohli after the match, I think it was Harsha Bogle interviewing him, and he asked him, "What message do you have for RCB fans?" Virat Kohli said, "I would just say not to get overexcited." I think that's the sentiment that I think all of you are bringing to this, to RCB's current showing as well. Like they've started extremely well, Shashank, but I think there is still 10 games to go in the league stage. Let's not look at the playoffs just yet.
Yeah, I think what Virat Kohli was also mentioning was "E Sala Cup Inu Bandilla." Long way to go for that. That's what he was mentioning. But yes, I mean,
A quick translation of that as well, Shashak.
yeah, the cup isn't in our hands as yet.
Yes.
The way they've gone about, they've been very clear in what they wanted to do, which is something that they've not been known to in the past. Right from the start of the season, they were clear that Kohli was going to open the batting. And that's something that became evident only towards the end of the previous season, because until then they were chopping and changing. And even if you look at the consistency in selection this time around, they've only made tactical changes. Like yesterday, you saw, rather in the game against the Royals, you saw one batsman going out for an extra seamer, because Mumbai obviously, is a venue, high scoring venue, so they wanted to fortify their bowling, so they played an extra bowler there. In Chennai, where they had a lot of bowling options, they played the extra batsman. So they've made very key changes and tactical changes. It's not been changes that they've made for the heck of it, and they haven't let short-term results influence them towards the. That's something that we saw even towards the end of the previous season, and they've kind of gone on the same lines this time as well. So I think credit to the coaching staff for kind of maintaining that consistency.
Debayan, Mumbai Indians. Yeah. What's up with them? They've won two, they've lost two. They do not look the force that we expected them to be. They are in the playoff spots. I'll give you that as we record this podcast. But I think if I'm looking at their results, their highest score this season has been 159. The two games they won, they both defended low scores. Is it just because they're playing in Chennai, and when they're not going to get to play at the Wankhede, so when they move around other cities may be more beneficial to them?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head with those figures. I think the issue has been their batting, and principally Rohit Sharma's lack of form has definitely been a dampener for them. And what's worked in the past is that their middle and sort of lower middle order has been able to bail them out, but that's not happened this year yet. Because it is a rapidly evolving league as well. Other teams have plans; they have ways and means of countering what you do. I thought, in particular, the way that they capitulated against Delhi Capitals, which I thoroughly enjoyed, of course, being a Delhi boy myself. So that was quite surprising because you would have expected them to really bring their A game and put on a bigger fight, but their batting just caved in quite early. So that's a bit of a concern. And again, Kyron Pollard is showing his value, but there's a lot more that needs to come, not just from him, but from the rest of that middle order as well. Sooner or later, I would expect their top order to begin firing, and then Mumbai will, I think, get back on track. So I wouldn't worry too much about them. But yes, at the moment, they're definitely looking like a team which needs a lot of things to go right for itself.
Shashank, is it fair to say that this is a familiar script, right? That Mumbai start a bit slowly, but as we reach the business end of the season, they are and they will be this season again the team to beat.
Yes, absolutely. That's been a kind of a hallmark for them over the years. But having said that, I think they'll also be desperately happy to move out of Chennai as soon as possible because the wickets there haven't been the most friendliest for the batsmen so far, and especially Mumbai. You've seen them kind of struggle to put up big totals. Where RCB have done well is they found two mavericks in AB de Villiers and Glenn Maxwell to kind of tide over the sluggish wickets. But Mumbai so far haven't found that, even though they have quality batsmen, batters rather, in the team to kind of take them forward. But yes, moving away from Mumbai should kind of help them. But again, they'll be playing in Delhi, which is also notoriously known to be a slow wicket. So it's going to be tough for them. But I think they've got the pedigree to kind of bounce back from the position that they are in so far. So it's not panic stations just yet for the Mumbai Indians.
All right, we've seen a couple of new captains take charge in this IPL. Rishabh Pant for one, Sanju Samson the other. We'll get to Samson because we have to talk a bit about RR. But a quick word on Pant, Devan, and we'll start with you. This is his first stint as captain. How would you rate him so far? I mean, he does have 3 wins and four under his belt, but there have been some question marks about his captaincy per se. It's almost as if he is following a predetermined script that was decided before and is maybe unable to yet take on field calls.
Yeah, I mean, he's still a pretty young player in that squad, and even amongst him, there are so many seniors. So that will always be a little bit of a concern. But I think Delhi, principally, how they've done this well is largely down to one man, Shikhar Dhawan. He's been outstanding. I think we must make a mention of how superb he's been, and just the kind of evolution that he's had as a player. Clearly, this is a man who's determined that he wants to be considered for the T20 World Cup. He's not happy about the fact that he was left out probably of the last 11 that played T20s for India.
So considering you mentioned that T20 World Cup, you remember you, me, and Shamya, we were discussing on this very podcast before we came on, and Shamya was of the opinion that okay, maybe Dhawan's time is done, and I think I was like, what if he has a really good IPL? Is this that really good IPL?
He's definitely made the right start. Now the challenge for him will be to stay this consistent and to come up with perhaps even better performances because maybe one sort of criticism could be that he's not finished off matches. He's got off to great starts, but then in that flow, he's also tended to throw his wicket away, which of course is a great attribute as well in T20 cricket to not be selfish. But sometimes you do want your openers to kind of get the job done in the way that RCB did in their previous match. So that's probably the level of ruthlessness that's still to be determined by the Delhi Capitals. Also, their bowling has been a little sort of iffy from time to time. They were excellent against Mumbai, but I think their bowling is still yet to hit the full strap. So, keeping that in mind, I would give a little bit of benefit of doubt to Rishabh Pant, the captain. But I think he's been quite good. I would say that he's definitely not sort of lost it. He's probably been a bit less chirpy, which maybe our fans who watch on television are missing a little bit. But I think on the whole,
Especially in his interviews, right? In
yeah,
his
yeah,
post-match
absolutely.
interview.
There's suddenly so much of sobriety about him, so that's a little unnerving. But it's a decent team, and of course, one more person that we saw the best of in one game. But let's hope that he recovers that touch was Prithvi Shaw, because he's played a couple of great cameos, but you need to see a lot more from him. And I mean, in that first match, the way that he was hitting that ball, that was just out of the world. And that's the kind of performance that you want from a guy as talented as him, because that is the kind of things which spectators do pay money to see.
The other first time captain in the IPL is Sanju Samson, of course, and he's in charge of Rajasthan Royals, who, as we record, are bottom of the table, Shashank. And this is not something that was unexpected. I mean, I think most of us predicted that Rajasthan would struggle this season. Sanju had that one brilliant innings. Unfortunately, it ended in defeat. They won one match when Morris came good, but are we seeing what we have come to expect from Rajasthan, and especially with Ben Stokes having gone back home, Liam Livingston having gone back home without having played a part? This is probably a season best to forget for any Royals fans.
And also Jofra Archer. I mean, there's considerable doubt over his participation. There are talks that he could come in towards the second half, but I mean, the way they're going, I mean, if they're knocked out or if they're 5 or 6 losses into the second half, I don't think Jofra is going to make any difference either. So yes, it is a familiar start in that sense. Also, we're seeing a pretty familiar script play out as far as Sanju Samson goes, and over the years, the biggest I won't say complaint, but the biggest issue that he's had to contend with is, he starts brilliantly, plays one out of the world knock, and then it's followed by a string of low scores, inconsistent scores, and then by the time he reaches mid-season, there's always this chatter around him unable to kick on and unable to produce scores consistently, and that's been the trend 4 games in as well. You saw that first game, that century that he made, at the Wankhede, unbelievable ball striking in a chase of 220, to kind of hold his shape, to kind of believe in his instincts and believe in his game, to the extent that he refuses a run of the penultimate ball and backs himself to score six of the final delivery. That's kind of you know absolute confidence there. And what's followed after that is three tame dismissals, and that's not something that an IPL captain or somebody who is talked off in as one of the best T20 ball strikers going around in India, or among the best rather, should have. I mean, he is seriously good on his day, but he can also be a little ordinary when it's not his day. And in a T20 World Cup year, when you're pressing for selection, I think the selectors, the team management, the coaches, the captains, they expect a lot more from someone like a Sanju Samson. So while that century was unbelievable, I think unless he backs it up with a string of performances that will get his team over the line, I think he is. I mean, the time is slipping away for him. I think he really needs to get back into his groove very, very quickly.
Shanky, did it seem like reality hit home yesterday? Because after that defeat to RCB, when Padikkal was absolutely brilliant, Sanju Samson was interviewed post match and he was pretty stern with his team. He said, "We need to go back home and do some homework and have an honest review."
Yeah, I think firstly in Mumbai, we've seen over the last couple of weeks or even over the last few years that Mumbai is the new Chinnaswamy. I mean, no total is big enough here. Even 220 was nearly gunned down a couple of days ago. Chennai Super Kings made another 200 plus score. That should have been 240, but Kolkata Knight Riders nearly, got over the line. So we've seen that 200 plus can be comfortably chased down over here. So 170 in that sense wasn't that big a score. But considering the position that they were in, losing those 3 or 4 wickets early on, they did pretty well to get where they did. But unfortunately, you still get a sense that the spark is missing. The kind of spark that you expect from a senior player like Joss Butler, that's missing at the top of the order. They've had Manan Vora coming in and playing three attractive shots, but nothing thereafter. So they've been faltering right at the top of the order. So they're looking a little vulnerable there. The middle order looks okay, but again unable to kick on. Riyan Parag has looked pretty decent in whatever little we've seen of him, but he needs to be uh, taking a little more onus on himself to steer that lower middle order, and I think it's something that they'll have to fix at the auction. Obviously, mid-season you can only look at short-term fixes. Shreyas Gopal, somebody who was a prolific wicket taker for them a couple of years ago, is completely finds himself in the cold. I mean, I know he played the game against RCB, possibly because of that matchup with Kohli and De Villiers, but 2 seasons on, he's completely fallen away. So you just have to wonder if that old Rajasthan Royals mantra of backing young talent, giving them that platform, giving them that exposure is kind of slowly uh, withering away. I mean, yes, they've given that opportunity to Chetan Sakaria so far this season, and he's done well. But you generally would see the Royals do a lot more of that. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that so far, and I think there's a little bit of confusion in the Royals camp at the moment that they'll have to quickly fix.
I think you're right. The spark does seems to have gone from the Royal Challenge, at least for this season. But what about two other sides? Yeah, Sunrisers, Hyderabad, Divine, and the Kolkata Knight Riders. And I'm clubbing them together simply because I feel they're in the same boat, and that's not just because they have the same number of points and they're right next to each other in the table, but it just seems to me that they should be doing better than they are. That they have the players to do better, and it's a bit of a surprise that they've lost 3 games already out of 4.
Yeah, another commonality both with foreign skippers. To be very honest, I didn't expect much from KKR this season. So SRH has been a little bit of a disappointment. And if I may, I would actually club another team with them, which is Punjab Kings, in terms of identifying the problem, which is that these teams are not aware of what their best 11s are. They haven't come to grips with the conditions. They haven't come to grips with their best 11. They're still doing a lot of chopping and changing. If anything, I would say that SRH are probably best placed out of them because they have the potential to turn it around. Having a bankable player like Kane Williamson come in late, that has been a huge thing for them. Didn't get to do much in the last match, but that has just allowed them a little bit of leeway in terms of their team composition. But the absence of a middle order is galling. For KKR, it's a completely misfiring batting order. I mean, nothing has come right for them. I know they got 200 or close to 200 in the last match, the one where they were chasing 200 plus. But even that required basically a frenetic bit of hitting from the middle order. So it's basically been the batters who have let most of these teams down. Punjab Kings are just showing their over reliance on KL Rahul again. So that's why these three teams, I guess, find themselves in a similar situation. But out of them, if you ask me, I would expect SRH probably to set their house in order the first, if not completely.
Shanky, do you concur? Do you think SRH are best placed among the 3 teams that we mentioned there?
SRH look good, but I think they've also kind of been a little off the boil in the sense that in the previous season they identified Abhishek Sharma and Abdul Samad to be two big mainstays for them. Abdul Samad, the finisher, and Abhishek Sharma, who could bat at the top of the order and give some handy left arm spin. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that so far. I mean, Samad was left out of the previous game because of probably one bad shot in that game against RCB. And Abhishek Sharma, I thought he would have been a straightaway first 11 material, but unfortunately, it's taken him a while to get a game. So I'm not sure what the thinking is. I think they've backed Vijay Shankar very heavily so far, and unfortunately, he's been a bit of a letdown for them with the bat. Of course, he's got a couple of wickets here and there with the ball, but when he's had to play that finisher's role, when he's had to play that big knocks, big cameos, I think he's been a bit of a letdown. So for someone who's played for India and for someone who was once upon a time a number four at a World Cup, I think a little more is expected of him. David Warner, of course, is coming back from an injury, but he hasn't really struck that kind of destructive form that he's known to in the IPL. So much of it has hinged on Johnny Bairstow because even Manish Pandey, we've seen him go off the boil a little after getting off the starts. He struggled with the strike rates. So there is a bit of confusion in the Sunrisers camp. But
Yeah, about Pandey. Yeah, about Pandey Shanky. Yes, yesterday when Devdutt Padikkal, right, when he hit his century, there was then this list of uncapped players who have scored centuries in the IPL, and the list had Sean Marsh, it had Paul Valthati, it had Devdutt Padikkal, and it had Manish Pandey in 2009. And I was like, wow, years have just flown by that we were so excited about Manish Pandey in 2009. and we're here in 2021, and we're like, hey, Pandey, he's just been dropped
Cynical, I
also
guess.
from there,
Hope has
Saraj.
turned to cynicism.
Yeah, it's turned to quite a bit of cynicism, and I was feeling upset about myself for feeling that way. But I guess that, Shanky, there is some truth in that, right? Like, Pandey has not achieved the potential that we saw, at least in the IPL.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a confidence crisis for him currently. He bats in the top order for Karnataka and for Sunrisers Hyderabad in the IPL. Has always come in with a sword hanging over his place in the Indian team, where he's had to do the finisher's role, and he's done it decently. I mean, I won't say that he's done badly, but he's just about done enough to kind of float around. We've just seen that one breakthrough knock in Sydney 5 years ago, and and if we continue to talk only about that innings 5 years on, I think probably it's a sign that I think he hasn't really fulfilled his potential. So yes, for all the early sparks, he's been a bit of a letdown, but he's a quality player, and hopefully he'll come back with a bang.
Devan, before we move on to the final team, which is CSK, one word from you, because I was intrigued by what you spoke about Kolkata Knight Riders, that you didn't really think that they would do well. On paper, this should be any franchise beating T20 side.
Well, they have players of pedigree, but I think I base my assumption on the experience of maybe the past two or maybe even three seasons. I mean, including 2021. That there's almost a sense of that they are basically, especially when chasing, they are just setting the game up for Andre Russell to come and do the job. But that won't work out every time, and especially now that bowlers, especially in the IPL, seem to have wisened up to his strength areas and somewhat know how to deal with it. You know, that wide Yorker or the short ball angling across him from round the wicket, that seems to work pretty well against him. So they've become a little bit of a one-trick pony for me, and that's disappointing because you're right. I mean, it's a team with a lot of pedigree, and hugely disappointed with how Dinesh Karthik has gone. I mean, it's almost as if his game has completely gone down in terms of what it used to be and the reliability that he used to offer. And maybe it's also down to maybe their batting positions. Maybe a little shuffle here and there could help them. But that's why I say that they are.
Hasn't Morgan been a bigger disappointment
He
than
has,
DK, though?
absolutely, he has too. So I think that's the thing that they have not really been able to nail down a the right kind of foreigners, b the right kind of roles for their key players in the middle order. And in all of that confusion, there's just I don't know if I don't know what's the right word, but there's just not been enough responsibility shown by the senior players. So until and unless they sort that out, I think it's going to be a little bit difficult for them.
I think just to add to what Debayan mentioned, I think they made it very clear even before a ball was bowled in the IPL that they're going to be dictated heavily by matchups and going to be dictated heavily by numbers, and that's what probably one of the reasons why they got in Nathan Lehman, the England team analyst, the World Cup winning analyst with the England team, along with their already existing senior pro in AR Shrikant. So they've gone heavily into matchups, and which is why it's a little disappointing to see how their plan of bowling Andre Russell at the death, especially with those wide Yorkers, has completely failed. And they've kind of persisted with the same failed plan. You saw in 3 games in a row now that Russell has been taken to the cleaners at the death, and
It's almost like every batsman knows that that ball is coming.
exactly, and that's exactly why he's already been found out. And despite that, you've seen him continue to do that, and probably that's something that they'll have to look back and reconsider. I mean, before it's too late.
All right, so moving on then. The biggest surprise for me, Shanky, and I'll stay with you, this season has been Chennai Super Kings. I mean, if you had asked me before, I would never have predicted that they would have won three. I've seen that the game that they're playing, it has changed as well, where I think everyone's role is now to just hit, except maybe Ruturaj, and even he showed that he can hit the last time around. It's gone well for them. I think we could leave it at that for now, because have been playing at the Wankhede, which is a batting track, and I don't think, say, a Ruturaj Gaikwad 60 and 40 balls is something to get overexcited about. But they've started extremely well and better from what I would have thought they would have.
Yeah, and it's very, very evident in Stephen Fleming's tone in the press conference. He went through a series of press conferences last season where he was downcast and he was absolutely disappointed, and he didn't even let that disappointment. He didn't even hide that last season, but this season he's been a lot more chirpy and cheerful, and for good reason. I mean, in 4 games, I mean they've made 180 plus in 3 of the games. and 200 nearly in the previous game against the Kolkata Knight Riders. So the batting has really come through, despite their key batsmen in Suresh Raina not really having the kind of a season that you expect him to start with. But I think the bit of a difference there has been Moeen Ali. I mean, he's been a revelation at number three, and it all goes down to the way a player has been used. Moeen was with RCB for 3 seasons, did not know what his role was. He was out, he was benched, he was bowling with a new ball, 1 over, 2 overs, and then he'd just cool his heels elsewhere in the field. He wouldn't bat until it was number five or number six, much after the damage had been done at the top. So there was no role clarity for Moeen Ali, but that's something that the Chennai Super Kings have done superbly. They've kind of invested in him. They've kind of repaid. They've kept faith in him. They've given him a clear role at number three, something that belonged to Suresh Raina earlier, and that role is to just go after the bowling from get go, and that's something that he's done superbly. So he's made a big difference, and also CSK have not let emotions come in the way of the selection. They traded in Robin Uthappa for a reason, because he was, obviously he's had a prolific record in the IPL as an opener. But they've resisted the temptation to bring him back only because someone like Ruturaj Gaikwad showed and to quote MS Dhoni, the spark in the previous season. Three Man of the Match awards towards the tail end of a disappointing season. So they gave him that continuity. He failed in 3 games, but they kept faith in him, and he kind of repaid that faith. So things are slowly coming together for the Chennai Super Kings without their entire batting unit firing in unison. That's the best part about it. So clearly, they seem to have reworked the batting template of going after it right from ball one, and that's kind of paying off. And of course, it's helped that they've been playing much of their cricket in Bombay, and of course, Deepak Chair has been superb with the ball. So it's all looking good for them. I'd be very, very surprised if they don't make the playoffs after this kind of a start.
Deban, every match, Dhoni comes for the toss. He looks at the pitch and he says the pitch looks tacky. Please explain to me what that means.
So what he means essentially is that, especially early on in a match, and I believe the first usage came after that first game against Delhi Capitals. So when
Correct.
the match does begin, it's still under somewhat. I mean, it's not completely under the floodlights, or rather, it's just around twilight. So it's the floodlights are beginning to take effect. There is still a little bit of grip on the surface. So when the bowlers are coming in, the ball just stops a little bit. But as the evening goes on, so the matches are beginning at 7:30. So you assume that I mean, with over rates, I guess the second innings doesn't begin until about 9:30. So by that time, whatever little dew
At
comes
the
in,
earliest.
yes. So the dew does tend to set in on a few evenings, on a few occasions, and then it becomes much easier to bat because the ball just comes on a little faster. It zips a little quicker, and it also gets wet when it goes through the outfield. But just to add to what Shashank said, I completely agree about the key difference that has been made by Moeen Ali. But the one sign of a warning is that out of their 3 wins, 3 of them have come against the teams which are in the bottom four of the table right now. So in terms of quality opposition, they've only faced Delhi Capitals, and they came a distant second in that match. So that's the one thing to watch out for. That how do they go against the teams which are likely contenders? When they play a Mumbai, how will they go? When they play an RCB, how will they go? So those are, I think, the matches for me that will determine with their fate. I'm still not completely sure. Also, a matter of pride and sticking to your pre-tournament prediction. So I'm not sure if they'll not slip by and allow somebody like an SRH or maybe even a Punjab Kings at some stage to revive their campaign and charge up the table. But yes, I mean, as of now, they're looking good for a playoff spot. But yes, there's still a lot of work to be done because in terms of genuine contenders, they haven't faced any apart from Delhi. So that's where one needs to watch out for.
Talking about CSK's approach in the previous game, I saw something that I hadn't seen in a long time, and that is MS Dhoni coming out to bat and looking to smash the ball right from the first ball. Forget about the fact that the first ball did not hit the middle of the bat and it flew off an edge to the boundary of Sunil Narayan.
That was probably the only way he was going to get a boundary from off Narayan, right?
Yeah, but you saw him looking to smash the ball every single ball that he faced, and that's something that we haven't always seen of Dhoni. I mean, whether it's a 15th over, whether it's a 17th over, you've always seen him in the last couple of years coming in, playing himself in, taking three or four
But
balls.
but let's go back, Shanky, to what he said in the previous game, there where he said the first 6 balls. that I played in that previous match is could cost our team the next time around. So the next time around, he just went there and he said, I mean, I'm just going to throw my bat at everything.
Yeah, I mean, very glad that he actually said that. I mean, it just shows that he realizes that he can't, stick to his old methods anymore. And it's great to see himself trying to, go after the bowling, something that he was known to do when he early came in all those years ago. So it's good to see the captain too is kind of reworking his own set template that's brought him so much success. So, a lot to like about the way CSK have approached the campaign so far, and they won 3 out of 4 games without being at their best. I mean, that's a big sign that going forward.
Yeah, a big boost for them as well. Now let's get into the top performers, maybe even the surprises of the season. And I'm going to start with someone Shanky alluded to, Deepak Chahar for me, especially his performances in the power play. I mean, I think you can almost 90% of the time win a match when your bowler takes 4 or 3 wickets in a power play, right? I think he's been superb, Shanky.
Absolutely superb. I think Deepak Chahar, I was pretty surprised he couldn't get too many games during the long stretch of home limited overs games that India played against England, but I'm sure he'll be a prime candidate for the T20 World Cup. I think what they look at him for is as a backup for Bhuvneshwar Kumar. And considering Bhuvneshwar Kumar has been injury prone and over the last couple of years, Deepak Chahar will always be that back to back, I mean, like for like replacement rather for Bhuvneshwar Kumar. But with performances like these, possible that he'll even leapfrog Bhuvi for a spot in the 11. Because you've seen both the bowlers in comparison. I mean, it won't be fair to compare both of them in the IPL so far, but we've not seen any kind of swing for Bhuvi so far, whereas Deepak Chair has got the ball to bend back in, move away the banana swing. I remember the ball that he bowled to, I think, was it Mayank Agarwal?
Yeah, the perfect outswinger.
He's looked superb so far with the new ball, and he's also been used well by Dhoni, who has kind of tried to bowl him out in those early phases so that he's reserved the other bowlers towards the end.
Shanky, I'll give you a minute to think of your pick, Deban. Who has caught your eye so far?
I would probably have to go with Devdutt Padikkal based on last night, but that's probably recency bias. So hang on.
But he did look superb.
He did absolutely, but I mean it's not been all that consistent from him on a regular
Yeah,
basis in the
yeah.
season. So I'm just like omitting him for the moment. Um, I would probably have to go with maybe Shikhar Dhawan because it's been quite refreshing the way that he's batted, and really when he bats, you know that Delhi are in control. So that's been a major reason behind why they are possibly one of the favorites for at least a playoff spot, if not maybe the championship.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't say that he's underrated, but I just don't think he's held in as high a regard in the T20 format as some of the other Indian players are, and it's outstanding to see him come out there with more often than not a smile on his face. He looks like he's having fun on the field, and he performs so well with the bat and in the field as well. I think in 2 games in a row, he took 3 catches each, right, Devan? Like that
Yeah, yeah,
was that was a
absolutely,
lot of fun.
absolutely. He's been a fine performer, and I mean, if I can just add a second name, I would say Harshal Patel. So another ex-Delhi player, I guess.
Yeah, but like y'all mentioned at the start as well, Herschel, he's in his post-match interviews, he's always said that he's been given a specific death over role for the IPL. So as Shanky mentioned, that probably helps his performance as well. Shashank, who has caught your eye?
It's a pretty easy one. Glenn Maxwell for me. I mean, so
Oh yeah.
much has been said and written about him over the years. Every year he comes into the IPL as this big ticket signing with this huge pressure riding on him to kind of play the finisher's role. RCB probably realized, probably thought that the best way forward would be to take that burden of being this finisher away from him and bat him in the top four. And I just keep going back to this point. It's all about how a player is made to feel and thrive in an environment. I think he was with Kings 11 Punjab or Punjab Kings last couple of years. He just didn't wasn't able to get the best. They weren't able to get the best out of him, probably because they used him as that finisher. And with every single performance it kept going away from him. The harder he tried, the more he failed. So RCB tried to rewrite that template by giving him a position in the top four and letting AB de Villiers do the finisher's role. And I think he's really thrived on some tough wickets. So his performances really have come as a bit of a surprise. And I think he's looking at home here at the Royal Challengers of Bangalore. Similarly, I mean, Harshal Patel with the ball has been a revelation. Clear definition of his role has kind of helped him thrive. That's something that I haven't seen with the Punjab Kings, with someone like a Chris Gale. You'd think that he'd be better suited to open the batting, and KL Rahul maneuvering the middle order probably. So clarity of roles is key in the IPL, and I think RCB have got it spot on. So I would go with Glenn Maxwell, and on the bowling front, it's Harshal Patel, as Debayan mentioned.
Okay, we still have a couple of minutes to go, so especially this is in relation to the teams that are not doing as well. Yeah, who are the one or two players? Devan, will start with you, who have been a little under par, underperforming so far this season, but if they come to life, the teams could do really well. Like for me, the immediate name I can think of is David Warner. I think if he starts really being the David Warner of old, I think SRH could easily climb into that playoff spot.
Yeah, David Warner and even somebody like KL Rahul, who got off to a great start, but somewhere perhaps again, the chatter around the strike rate, all of that is just sort of getting to him.
Shanky, isn't it you who keeps saying I want to see the 2018 KL Rahul?
Who wouldn't want to see that 2018 World Cup, really? I mean, that's something it's been a while since we actually saw him. I don't know what it is about Rahul, that something about his games suggests that he's a little constrained, whether it's the captaincy or whether it's the responsibility of being wicketkeeper, captain, opening batsman, who's also now having to contend with his place in the T20 team, especially with a number of young Indian players coming through like Surya Kumar Yadav, Ishan Kishan. Is it the competition? For someone who's as senior as him, I wouldn't think so, but you never know what's really going on. So something about his game seems a little off. I think it's a matter of time. Hopefully, he'll get it right.
Sorry, Dibayan, I think we cut you off there.
Yeah, pretty much just the same point from Shashank. I think exactly that the whole weight of expectations and the way that Punjab typically approach their batting, that Rahul looks to bat and everybody else just bats around him. But what's been happening, especially when they've got it wrong, is they've just lost a flurry of wickets, including Rahul. And from there on, there's just been no recovery. So that's what they need to avoid in a couple of games. And if he can kind of get back to his old shape, old form, hit out and sort of express himself well with the bat at the risk of using that cliche, then perhaps it'll begin to reflect a lot better on them. And the other batters will also have that little cushion when they come in because they have an explosive lineup. We have seen that with Deepak Huda a couple of times already in this IPL, but they need to post substantial enough scores for their bowlers to defend.
Final word from the two of y'all, Shashank.
Massively excited about the Kaveri Derby, as they call it, Royal Challengers Bangalore versus the Chennai Super Kings. I think that's a game that's coming up this week, so it's something that I'm really looking forward to. I think it's uh, obviously everyone knows which side leads the rivalry here and how it's been grossly one-sided over the years. But I think this time around it promises to be a little different. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to over the coming week. And also, I think Mumbai will make a swift move up the ranks. I mean, they're too good a side to kind of be bogged down by these kind of results and the kind of inconsistency that we've seen in the bat. I think a move away from Chennai is going to help them. So a big performance is around the corner for them, hopefully. So Mumbai, expect them to bounce back, and yeah, RCB to continue their winning run. Probably, I mean, of course, I'm not saying that they'll be unbeaten, but I think they'll be closer to a playoff spot this time next week, I would say.
Yeah, I would actually sort of wish for the opposite. I would want the race for the playoffs to be a little tighter. So as I'm looking at the points table, RCB on 8 points, RR on two. In fact, I mean, four teams on two. So what I'm looking forward to most is these bottom four to start making an upward movement. I mean, it will naturally happen as well, but for them to close the gap on the top, say two or three, because we don't want a situation where we are already aware of the playoff teams, midway into the season. So just looking for a few, I guess, upsetting results or slightly, warped results and some individual performances. Individual brilliance is always something to look forward to. So yeah, that would be my wish list.
All right, Deban and Shashank, it's been awesome speaking to you in this episode. We're 4 games into the IPL. Listener, you will join us next week as well, early next week, where we will be back with another episode of Stump Pack, where we look at what's happened maybe over the weekend in the IPL and the Kaveri Derby, as Shashank calls it as well. Until then, it's extremely important. Please, please, please stay safe. Take care of your friends, take care of your families, help in as much as you can. And if the cricket is able to distract you from all that is happening around you, please enjoy the IPL as well. Until next time, thank you so much.